We made the joke in yesterday's podcast description that we were back to 2018 again.
Boy, howdy.
How prescient was that? How prescient was that? Because guess what? Now, I mean, I see you're wearing the cream hoodie.
I'm rocking it.
The cream hoodie's coming back.
The cream hoodie's back. Big news. Cream hoodie's back. By popular demand. Like the last year.
And you know what? That's not all that's back by popular demand. There is a little known LCS player by the name of SSUMDAY.
Yeah.
Who is returning to the starting roster for 100 Thieves. Holy moly.
Whoa, Cole.
Full 2018. Whoa. Full 2018. And this is 100 Talk. I'm Cole. That's Jordan. This is 2018. So we might as well be Den of Thieves. We are here to talk about the 2018 100 Thieves team going into the season. And we're super, super pumped to do it. Welcome to 100 Talk, everyone.
I can't believe this, man.
Yeah. It's unreal.
I'm a little bit like at a loss for words. We'll find some words because we got some stuff to talk about, Cole.
Yeah,
but
for sure. Because like
when we
go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say when we started this show yesterday, I was asking you like, how do you feel? I said I have a smile on my face. How can you not smile when you see SSUMDAY? It's impossible.
He's such a kind boy. He's
the kindest boy, and he does filthy things on the Rift. He is
filthy things on the Rift. Yeah, I tweeted out one of his Urgot 1v2 just for good measure.
Yeah. That probably one of the best plays in the last 2 years, I'd say.
Yeah, it
easily
was
from anybody.
So sick.
Think about this, Cole. If you are a new League of Legends fan and you started watching in 2019, one, you're like, 100 Thieves is kind of trash. Like, I don't know why everybody is so excited. This team is not playing well. But two, you may not know SSUMDAY. How sad would that be?
That's
if you
goofy.
didn't know SSUMDAY?
That is.
We're going to correct that.
We will definitely correct that mistake. Yeah. Holy cow. Well, look, everyone, we're back with this is our fourth show in 3 days because we did a VOD squad on Monday after the regular 100 Talk. So this is our third podcast and our fourth show in 3 days. Can you believe this?
I can't.
Look how much we love all of you.
Wow, everybody. Wow. We thought there would be no content to do anything with between the end of Worlds and the beginning of the LCS.
But here we are mired in the craziest free agency. Oh my goodness.
Crazy in ways we didn't expect, man. We got a lot to talk about. This is not what I had in mind when they started saying developmental.
Yeah. I will say I don't know. Like in some ways it's kind of developmental. In some ways it's kind of.
This is not what I was prepared for. I was preparing myself for 5 people I had never heard of, or 4 in FakeGod.
Yeah,
Right. But that's not what we get. And I see Thieves in the chat. Thank you for spamming this Thieves because I'm feeling like a Steve tonight.
Yeah. Developmental for mid or not. We will get to that.
For bot or not.
Yeah.
We'll get to that too.
We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. Yes, we do.
Yeah. It's almost as if we have not done any shows in the last couple of days because we have so much to talk about still.
Well, where do you want to begin?
It's action-packed. Let's just revisit the question that we started with yesterday. Cole, how are you feeling?
How am I feeling?
How are you feeling? Let's talk about your feelings. It's important.
This is the show where we talk about our feelings, right? Well, it's been a topsy-turvy few days. There's still some question marks up in the air, but we've no doubt seen some big moves. And you know what? I've said it before, but I don't think I've said it enough, and I don't think I've said it with enough expression and gusto. So I think it's time for me to say this in a different way.
Okay. Cole, where are you going? Cole, we're losing Cole. Oh.
Trust the Papa. Trust the Papa. That's what I'm feeling, man. You know what? Trust the Papa. Trust the Papa.
Trust the Papa. It's time.
We here. Sumday's back. Sumday's back. It's time to trust the Papa. He's making changes. He's going to take us to the promised land, developmental or not. If it's developmental, we're going to get developed, baby. If we're going for a championship, we're going to get the championship, baby. Trust the Papa.
Oh, you guys. Cole, it looks so much better than I thought it would. I was prepared, but I wasn't prepared for this. You've really outdone yourself this time, man. And I'm so pleased.
Look, it's time to go all in. Chat, are you all in with me? Are we trusting the Papa? It's time. If you're with us, it's time.
The only thing we're missing is a Trust the Papa emote.
We might have to get partner real quick so that we can do that.
Yeah, please, Twitch, we need this.
Okay, look, we need to look. There's so many things we need to talk about. Let's talk about the biggest news from the day. Right, biggest news for the day. SSUMDAY is the starter on the LCS team. Chat, calm down. I'm getting a lot of comments.
Oh, it's just his benevolent face is right over your shoulder.
Yes,
and it's perfect.
This shoulder. Let me see if I can stroke his beard here. Thank you, Papa. That's right. At 100 Talk, we love you. We love you so much.
If you're listening to the podcast, we promise this makes sense. You gotta tune into the video version. You're gonna need to watch this.
Yeah, yes, you are. Yes, please. Twitch.tv/100talkpod. It's there. Okay, for real. Let's talk. Let's talk. Joking aside, let's talk. SSUMDAY is our starter. Jordan, was this what you predicted in the offseason that we would have SSUMDAY?
I'm thinking for a moment because there's a record of this. This is not what I predicted. Right? I think I was always of the opinion that if you're going to keep, I don't even see, it's so hard to say this without contradicting myself. Or I'm very happy that SSUMDAY is going to play for us again. Sure. Because at the end of last season, I did say, I think he is still so good. He is still a differential talent in the LCS. And he's somebody who, if only we could find a way to get him back into the lineup, I think we are immediately a better team. And that is still 100% true. That is absolutely the case. And on that note, I don't think you can be anything but excited about this. It does raise questions about FakeGod, right?
Yeah.
You do have to wonder what the fate of young FakeGod is. And I hope it's a good fate, because I think he has earned himself a good fate in the LCS.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I thought this was going to happen. I thought, especially after the cues we were getting coming from those early videos with Papa, I thought for sure that's the direction we were going. And I don't think it would have necessarily been a bad direction. I just think this one is one that I know is good. And we have the evidence to say, yeah, this is a good thing.
Yeah, I'm feeling overall positive about it. I have to say, I didn't think that this would happen. My inclination was, and I think I said that I would like to build around SSUMDAY.
Yes,
but,
you have said that.
But yeah. I didn't think it would actually happen. I thought that FakeGod would be our starter and we would go developmental with it. And I'm with you. I thought FakeGod did an admirable job, and I think he's got potential. I think he has a future in the LCS. And honestly, like if I'm being totally honest, I was looking forward to watching him grow during this season. So part of me is sad because, you know, I like him. I believe in him as a player, but we don't, if I'm not mistaken, we don't know what his fate is quite yet. Like we may just hold him and put him in academy and let him grow and develop. So that's kind of best of both worlds. If that does indeed happen, that's wonderful, and I'm happy about it. You have to think though, at some point he's kind of like a candidate for a trade piece too, because, you know, you've got, again, domestic solo laner prospect that's had some cool flashes. So
yeah,
you know, it's hard to say, but I do hope we keep him. But I am happy that SSUMDAY is back on the starting roster. Especially after we did the top 10 plays of 2019, or top 15 of 2019. I just remembered how insane SSUMDAY can be at times. And we have that, like, you know, there's that any moment he could go out and flash over the wall on the enemy base at like 8 minutes and kill the enemy jungler and then walk all the way around and get out through bot lane again. Like that can happen.
Who happened to be Meteos in that scenario you just relayed to us? Coincidence?
Who knows?
Yeah. But yeah, those are the kind of plays. And I think what we started to find as the team started to lose momentum was those plays were no longer enough to win us games, right? They were enough to be flashy and make the highlight reel for sure, and to demonstrate that he can basically do whatever he wants. But the rest of the pieces weren't there to actually turn those plays into meaningful objectives or wins.
Right.
I have to think, and we'll get into this a little bit, I have to think that with Meteos in jungle, SSUMDAY's already kind of looking better than he did at the end of his time on the LCS roster last year. I think that we can expect for him to be supported in different ways than he had been, and potentially for he and Meteos to team up. I mean, 1v9ing is one thing. 2v8ing is kind of a different thing, right? There's a lot more you can do with two people because you can turn a lot of fights in your favor. I mean, SSUMDAY can 1v2 in top lane. We've seen it happen. When he teams up with Meteos, I think the top half of the map suddenly becomes a very spooky place for other teams, especially your top laners. Like, I think people are probably a little bit afraid right now, if I had to guess, your LCS tops, because it's going to be dangerous up there. Like, that is not going to be a safe space in any way. If your job is to soak pressure against 100 Thieves in the top lane, good luck to you.
Yeah, and I think it's tempting to remember SSUMDAY when he was paired with Anda, or when he was even paired with Amazing, I think, for a couple games. But I think you're right. Like, if you look back on the Meteos time, it proved to be a fairly effective combination. Mm-hmm. So getting that back is pretty awesome. Now, I don't want to make any sweeping generalizations about how good I think this makes the entire team, or even how good the synergy is going to be between him and Meteos out of the gate, because they haven't played together in a long time. Plus, you just never know. Like, things change. The composition for the rest of the team is presumably significantly different. So I'm not going to get ahead of myself and think that this is automatically the best, pairing that we could possibly see. Right. But I'm optimistic.
It's like I talked about yesterday, Cole. Meteos is the best jungler who's played for 100 Thieves.
Right.
SSUMDAY's the best top who's played for 100 Thieves. We have not had that many, but so we have now basically returned in the two lanes that have been confirmed. We know that we have two of our strongest options, that are strongest talent we've ever had.
Yeah.
I don't think that analogy continues probably from here. Mm-hmm. We know for sure that Ryu is not playing in mid, and I think he's our strongest mid laner. Bot lane is still up in the air.
Yeah. So should we move and talk to that then? I guess because
let's do that.
Because the other news from the day, the other earth-shattering news that came out a little bit earlier, was the departure of Bang. Now we read that he has been. This is coming from ESPN Esports via Jacob Wolf. So as far as we're concerned, very reliable source reporting this, that Bang has been traded to Evil Geniuses for a little bit of cash consideration, unspecified amount, and also, and I'll get into this later with you, so I'll just say it for right now, but also the possibility of Deftly coming over as part of the deal, but that is contingent upon us not finding a different option at that position. So again, I'm going to return to that. Let's not focus too much on the Deftly part of it right now. Yep. What we know now is that Evil Geniuses now has Bang.
Yes. And
feelings on that? I mean, I thought if there was a piece that was going to remain other than FakeGod, it was going to be Bang. Of course, I thought FakeGod was going to stay and be the starter, which means, we had that import position for bot lane for sure. I thought he was going to stay. So I'm surprised by this news. I guess over the past couple of days, maybe there have been inklings that this would happen. But actually to see it go through is a little bit interesting.
Yeah. Very interesting. And I think, coming into this offseason, as we talked about kind of our early take on it. We did our fantasy GM show. We thought about what are the possible moves, what might we expect. One of the things I really didn't expect to see a ton of was trades. And so I was looking at our roster, and kind of taking the contract to be one of the leading indicators of how likely it was that a player would move.
Yeah.
In some way. And I think Evil Geniuses is kind of like the introduction of them into the scene has really thrown this into disarray, because they're trading for everybody, right? And so it seems like they've opened the floodgates to trades, which has a lot of different effects on the league and the value of players and how much people cost and all these things. And I think that's probably a big reason that Vulcan is 1.5 million. All that to say, I think that's why Bang is no longer on this roster. And I want to ask you, did you think it was unlikely because of the logistics of making that happen, or because he was a piece that we shouldn't have moved on, or that you didn't expect we would want to move on?
It's kind of a combination. I guess there are a lot of things that go into it. One is that despite never really hitting full stride with us, with a couple of counterexamples perhaps, but largely never really coming into what we thought we were getting when Bang was announced to sign with 100 Thieves. There were other things in play, like Papa Smithy's obvious affinity for the LCK. Maybe that played a role, or I thought that would play a role. Also, from the branding perspective, Bang seems to have a very passionate fan base. And he was, if I'm not mistaken, he's one of the all-star votes from the region. So clearly he's popular in that way. Also, to be honest, we kind of believe he has a very high salary, right? I think Travis on Hotline League said he heard the salary was around $1 million. That's very high. And that can, especially when a player is not popping off all the time, that can be hard to move. That's just a hard piece to move.
Exactly.
And in this situation, I would guess that knowing we could be going in a developmental direction and trying to come up with a plan based on the assets that we pulled in, maybe 100 Thieves wasn't willing to make that financial commitment to him at the time. So this is almost, a salary dump situation as well. But again, that requires a willing partner in that trade. And so I'm a little bit surprised, especially because I think the report said, hold on, I'm pulling it back up. The new LCS team, meaning Evil Geniuses, will send an undisclosed amount of cash to 100 Thieves in return for the multi-time world champion AD carry. So not only are they taking the salary off the books, but they paid some cash considerations as well. So that, that's an interesting, it's interesting transaction. But in the end result is that we are no longer committed to paying that high of a salary for a player.
Yeah.
And
which is huge. That's huge.
Yeah. And unless you're getting real concrete, standout results from that player, then you have to see it as a win, at least in some levels. Yeah.
And I think that's, for me, that's kind of what it boiled down to, is it's very hard. Think of Bang as you will. He showed flashes of what he can do and what he is capable of, but I would say that the reliable performance just wasn't there. And that's not to say that he can't reliably deliver. And it's very possible that Evil Geniuses looked at him and said, I think he will work in our system. He's worth that cost. I feel like we have a year of data that says, at least as things were, this didn't work. And he didn't fit into that play style that we wanted to have. And again, that's not to place blame on anybody. It's just to say it didn't work. I don't think there's any disputing that. So I kind of think this is a best case scenario, to be honest with you, where, I mean, that amount of money freed up off your books, I don't think that Thieves are in any kind of like budgetary crisis mode, right? Like we're a very successful organization. We're very solvent. Like I don't think we're in anywhere close to danger of being in like an Echo Fox or an Optic situation where we're questioning whether or not League is an investment we want to continue to make. But this makes the math that much easier, right? And I think it allows you to invest in a lot of other areas that I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see some of those things pop up, right? If you have that large a salary tied up in one position, that is not even making a big difference for you on the Rift, it's going to be hard to have the kind of year that you aspire to have.
Sure. And the other thing about it is, as we develop this team, we see where the pieces land and we see how good they are, right? Because you never really know how a team's going to perform until they start playing together and they have a few weeks under their belt of competition. It's possible that somewhere down the line you fall into a position where you're one move away from a championship contention, right? Yeah. And you're signing these players in most cases to multi-year contracts, right? So if you do that and you commit salary to it, and you may not have the wiggle room to make that final move, if you find yourself in position where, we could make a move that really puts us in contention like that. So you have that freedom as well. Yep. Not to mention the fact it's just being a wise steward of the money as well. Right. There's that portion of it too.
Another thing I'll call out is if your strategy is to scout talent, invest early, and then kind of roll the dice, you're going to have a couple of potential outcomes. They're either going to develop into the kind of player that you think can help you win championships, or they're not. And if they do, there's a very good chance that at the end of their, call it your rookie contract, they're going to demand a lot more money.
Right.
And if all of your money is tied up in one player, you might lose that player, right? And what you then become is a selling club where you bring people in, groom them, and then send them to the other clubs who can actually afford them. And that's not what you want to be either. That's not the way this league is set up. Now, Cloud9 can do that because they have
just going to bring them
academy roster full of these people, and selling them doesn't actually impact their ability to make it to Worlds routinely, right? They still have a strong enough starting five. But if you're selling your starters every year or two because you can't actually afford to keep them because they deserve to be paid, that's not going to work either. So I think this sets us up well in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. And some of that may be just trying to look on the bright side, honestly, because we don't know what's going to happen with the spot lane. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But obviously there are still significant gaps in the roster. So we just don't know. I think the whole takeaway is to take this a little bit slow and to be patient with it, right? That's what TrustThePapa is all about. The other thing I wanted to bring this up, I noticed this when the report about Bang came up, and I tweeted about it, that the language of the report was not in Hunter Thieves' favor with respect to Deftly. I mean, it says, quoting the report, the two teams have discussed the option of Evil Geniuses sending AD carry Matthew Deftly Chen to 100 Thieves after the fact. In the event 100 Thieves does not land a better replacement for Bang this offseason, according to sources. Now, I'm guessing that's honestly truly the case in this. Like, if I had to bet, I would say that's what is happening. At the same time, man, what happens if Deftly ends up being that player and then he comes in under those circumstances? Like, okay, hi guys, I'm showing up to work. I know you guys don't really want me here. It's not a good thing. It is not ideal. And it's hard for me to believe that this leak came from 100 Thieves' side, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yes. If somebody from 100 Thieves leaked this and included that language, that is the most careless leak in the history of leaks, potentially. You would never do that because you'd be torpedoing any chance of actually getting value out of a piece of the deal itself. So that's the last thing you would ever say. Unless somebody just truly didn't have an understanding of the implications of communicating it that way, this didn't come from 100 Thieves. It very well could have come from EG, right? This is something that you could say as, if they can't find anybody else, we're gonna send over Deftly too. Like, whatever, we don't need them. We got Bang.
And if it is them, then they're probably planning on getting rid of Deftly anyway, because that's obviously not good for them if he stays anyway. Right. It's just kind of a weird situation. It was a weird communication. And that's the only thing I'm saying. Don't do that, guys. Don't
write it that way feels irresponsible as well. Like, I get you're leaking stuff. You want to break the news, break the story, but that's not helping anybody. Why you got to say it like that, right? Even if you get that, and you understand that that's the terms of the potential deal, why would you write that? Why wouldn't you just say potential for Deftly to join is included in this deal?
Yeah.
Leave the terms out of it. Like, leave the fact that it's if they want to exercise the option out of it.
Yeah.
It just doesn't need to be said.
Right. And so I guess we're a little bit in the weeds with that thing, but I just, if we end up with Deftly, that's just going to be weird. Yeah. So I was just pointing that out.
It's really weird.
Again, so the question remains, what is going on in our bot lane? So now that we don't have Bang, we don't have word on Aframu officially. We know that right now he's currently not with 100 Thieves because he is a free agent, right? His contract's over. There's been no announcement regarding him. Do you have any thoughts, any predictions? Do we keep Aframu? What other bot laners are we taking a look at? Sneaky's been on everybody's minds. How would you feel about that?
All right, so I think it depends on who you want to be. Like, what team do you want to be? If you want to, and none of these are questions that are not legitimate in some way. If you're Papa Smithy, you're thinking about this. What team am I building here? And kind of what brand am I building as well? If your team is Someday Meteos, question mark, Sneaky Aframu, you are probably the most loved team in the league. Like, quite honestly.
Yeah.
There will be those who stay. But one of the things that we found early on, Cole, was it's unlike traditional sports. The LCS and professional league in general is unlike traditional sports in that people pretty reliably and consistently follow players over organizations in some cases. That's a lot of the reason that people started paying attention to 100 Thieves in the first place. We got Aframu, right? He was a huge name. People loved him. And then we got Meteos. And so, he had the Cloud9 kind of backing, and the people who loved Meteos on Cloud9, they were watching 100 Thieves too.
Right.
So I don't think that's lost on Papa Smithy. I know it's not. He's a smart guy. If you do that, if you bring Sneaky into the bot lane, you are also making a very clear statement about what kind of team you have on the Rift, right? The performance-wise. And Cloud9 recently decided Sneaky is not the future of our organization. And they did that for reasons that I'm assuming involved and included. We don't think he can help us reliably get out of group stages anymore. So if you want to do that, you're likely to pick up fans. You're also less likely to have a longer-term solution at the AD carry position that is going to get you to the upper echelons of this competition. And you have to just be aware of that and be okay with it if that's the move you make.
Yeah, that's a good point. And so we'll get to see which path that they choose. It's of course possible that development of Prismal is on the cards too, and we have someone in bot lane like Sneaky to start for a while Prismal cooks in Academy a little bit more, maybe wins another Academy title. Who knows? But yeah, it doesn't seem right to me. Like, it doesn't seem like the move, and it doesn't seem, it just doesn't seem to me like where the team's at. But of course, a lot of this stuff has been unpredictable for me, so I can't give my absolute vote of confidence behind that. But if a gun was put to my head, I would probably say that we don't sign Sneaky. Obviously that last split was kind of rough for him. It was definitely below par as far as what we're used to seeing for him. Maybe that's just just he had a bad split. Maybe it's him getting older. Who knows?
All that being said, like, let's not mince words. Having Sneaky in the bot lane wouldn't be bad. No. He's not a bad player. I think the question that's starting to be asked is he, how much longer, or is he still a top tier, top 3, reliably ADC? And that question will just become louder over time. So I don't know. Maybe that would be a super fun team, right? Like, that would be a really fun team, and they would be like the charisma of that team would just be infectious.
Yeah.
So
I will say this, while I still believe that Ryoma will be the starter, there's the chance, right, that we could still have an import in bot lane. I don't know who that would be. Just throwing that out there. And the only reason I say is because I'm just kind of at a loss for who else from LCS we would put into that position.
Right. Yeah. It's either going to be you're going to roll the dice on an academy player, or maybe get like a kind of a bargain pickup from one of the players who's been around for a little bit but isn't, thought of super highly.
Yeah.
The bench is not super deep.
Getting a lot of Cody Sun in there, and hey, if we're running back 2018, certainly that would be the case.
We could legit have 4 of 5. That would be so crazy. That would I don't even know.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, maybe it does end up being Deftly. Who knows? That's certainly on the table, I think. I want to be the guy on this show that says, here's my prediction for bot lane. I want to say that. I just cannot. I literally don't know. I'm the lamest podcast host. I'm the lamest opinion haver out there right now because I just don't know. And maybe there's a tangential question we can ask here that informs that question a little bit. And that is, are we indeed going the developmental route with this team, or with SSUMDAY and Meteos, does that mean maybe we're making a stronger play?
Yeah. Like, are we a win now team? Are we shifting that direction?
I think win now is still strong for me. Like I think you can not be a quote developmental, which I think is code word for like, this is not going to be a great season, guys. We're just trying to get our legs under us. There's a middle ground between that and a win now team. To me, we're not a win now team. Like, unless something earth shattering was to happen, it just doesn't seem that way. So I think we're somewhere in between. But I still would err on the developmental side, because we need to find the players that are going to lead us in the future, and train up those players, which maybe it's Ryoma again. I'm still bringing up Ryoma. I think he's going to be a starter. I think we're going to see an import mid lane be our starter, and maybe that's him.
Yeah. I can't say that that's an unlikely take, right? I mean, he's not been announced. Has he? He's not been announced yet.
No,
right?
He hasn't, but it's been reported.
Which is still kind of. I mean, that would
like
put this whole thing
is
to
happening.
bed.
I feel like
I know it's happening, but when they announce, they typically will say, and here, I mean, Papa Smithy has said, "Here's the starter, right? Here's who's starting." So we should expect that level of clarity. And I think if they announce Ryoma and they don't say here's the starter, there's your answer. Right? Like if they by omission say where he's going to be playing, then okay. You could get cutesy with it and say he's going to be flexing it between or whatever it is, splitting time. But yeah, I think an import mid seems very likely.
And this is being brought up in chat, so I want to say this before we move on. And people are asking about the new import rule. My understanding of the new import rule is that in Academy, there is an allowance for an additional import player to start on your Academy team if they come from a certain number of emerging regions, right? If they come from one of a group of emerging regions, which OPL counts within that group. So that is leading a lot of people to believe that Ryoma will be an Academy player. And even if that ends up being the short-term thing for us, I don't think it's the long-term. I think the plan is to get Ryoma in the tubes. So with that said, go ahead.
It doesn't, I agree. It does not make sense to bring him in from another region. I would say, I mean, and I'm open to this, but it just doesn't seem like a play that you would make at this point in time where there's so much influx on your roster. I can't expect that you would bring him in to say, we're just going to let him hang out in Academy and see what happens. Now, if we see like a PoE or like a player who is, we know, a strong mid already, then I think that also makes it super clear too that is their plan. Ryoma's going to hang out in Academy and we'll see what happens. But until we get the full scoop on mid lane, or until the team officially announces Ryoma, you got to kind of wonder too, why aren't they announcing him yet? Like that was Monday. We've had 2 announcements since then, kind of 3. What is out there?
I don't know. Yeah, good question. Maybe they agreed in principle and the ink hasn't dried or something like that.
Or maybe they're still waiting on
the other pieces. That could be
side of the coin, right? Because you're going to have 2 mids on your team. One's going to play Academy. One's going to play LCS.
Well, maybe it's all just a plot to keep 100 Talk going every day.
Yeah,
maybe they know they'll announce something tomorrow and force us to do another show.
I can almost bet they will. What they don't know is they're competing now with Rec League slot, which is Thursday.
Oh, yes.
So we'll have to see about that.
Right. This is the full week of 100 Talk.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Cole, should we at least say something about Prismal? You've said you're on record, and you said before that you think he needs more time.
Yeah, I like him. I like him. I think he interviews so well. I've said that a bunch. I just love listening to him do interviews. I think he's great. But yeah, it just doesn't seem like he's fully there yet. And like he's one of those players where every once in a while a sick clip will pop up of some like quadra that he got, where it's really insane. And so I think like we tend to overreact to those clips and immediately think like, oh yeah, he's ready to go. Like, let's do this.
Put him in.
I will say this. I wouldn't be very upset if he ended up playing, if they bumped him up, but I don't think it's in the cards. Like, well, I don't think he's ready. I think you ideally want to get him a little bit closer before you actually put them in the water and tell him to swim. He's had a couple games, I guess, in LCS already, but I think it just doesn't seem like he's ready yet.
What you've got to keep in mind with Prismal now, the math has changed on this, right? It's no longer Prismal over no one. Like, Prismal is going to be a better starter than nobody, and right now that's who we have signed is no one else. So yeah, start Prismal. Deftly, don't forget about Deftly. And I think it becomes a lot harder to justify Prismal over Deftly than Prismal because, well, why not give Prismal a chance, right? So the bar has been raised, and Deftly we know is, if the ESPN article was accurate and in kind of the wacky way that they framed it, then Deftly seems like probably a safer bet if you don't have another or a different plan there, right?
Yeah. Well, fair enough. Look, I think we've pretty much exhausted the conversation for tonight. Here's what I'll say. Like, regardless of where we actually stand with signing the rest of the players and the huge question mark of how good is this team actually going to be, this is a fun week to be a 100 Thieves fan. Like, it's been an exciting and fun week, and the announcements have been good, and it's been exciting. Like, the community seems to be coming together around this thing. So in that way, this is all working, and it's been a fun ride. And to everyone who's watching the shows and listening to the pods and interacting with us on Twitter, awesome. Thank you. Let's keep that up. It's been super fun being with you guys this week. So let's do more of this. We'll do more. Yeah.
When there's more news, we'll be back. Like, Thanksgiving week is going to be a little tricky, but we're in it for the long haul, and I think this is just the start of what at the very, very least be a super interesting season, right? Where we're going to get answers to a lot of questions that I don't think we ever thought we'd get answers to, such as, what if we just ran it back? What if we just tried that again?
Yeah.
So I'm super excited already. Like, there's still 3 question marks on the map, and honestly, the more we learn, the more I'm thinking it's going to be fun to watch, regardless of what else we learn and what else comes next.
And the more I learn, the more I'm thinking Thieves. I'm thinking Thieves. And I'm thinking trust the Papa.
Trust the Papa.
Just remember, as more announcements roll out, trust the Papa.
Feel free to use the hashtag, everybody. It is free to use. It's Creative Commons. Let Papa know that we trust him. It's
Make sure he knows. Make sure
early
he
vote
sees
of confidence.
Well, he did actually. He retweeted the clip. Someone clipped it and he retweeted it. So,
are you serious?
Yeah. More from us soon. More from 100 Thieves soon, I'm sure. More from 100 Talk soon. More from TrustThePapa soon. Eyebrow raise.
Trust the Papa. Keep trusting the Papa.
That's right.
It's been a great ride already, and we haven't even played a game yet.
Yeah. As always, everybody, we love you and we miss you already. Can't wait till next